Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today we are checking out the RotorSimPilot R44 Raven II helicopter from Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm super excited to try this helicopter out. You guys are going to be riding along for the first time with me, so without further delay, let's go ahead and jump after it. If you are interested in learning how to fly the A320, consider checking out my Overkill's A320 guide. This guide is available on either my Patreon site or via PayPal donation. PayPal donation, $10 or more. Just be sure to specify which guide you're looking for, as I have more than one. Patreon site, tier 2 or above, again, $10 a month, but that gives you access to all the guides that I currently have available, and then all that are coming in the future. My A320 guide walks you through how to install the A32NX mod by Flybywire. For those who don't know, the A32NX mod takes the default A320 Microsoft Flight Simulator and brings its functionality and features up to what I would consider study level simulation, and it's all completely free. So be sure to check that out. This guide walks you through everything from creating your flight plan into SimBrief, reading your flight plan in SimBrief, entering your flight plan in Microsoft Flight Simulator if that's how you choose to do so in the main menu or in the main map, full cockpit tours, walking through every button, switch, etc., letting you guys know where all the different panels and what the different options are, different displays on the screen and icons and things that you may experience while in flight and what they mean and how to read them and interpolate the information being displayed, the preliminary checklist before starting up the aircraft, taxi, takeoff, navigation, your altitude management, features of the MCDU that aren't related specifically to the A320 but are available because of Flybywire and their efforts, how to break down a flight route, understanding what you're looking at so you can take this information, use it in future flights, rather than just copying and pasting information that you're seeing on a screen or on a document, how to acquire some more information that's provided in the A320, specifically the A32NX, the different gauges, again, understanding what you're looking at versus just, powering up and going, getting some of that background information to solidify your flight, looking at approach plates, departure plates, SIDS, stars, all those things that we have to consider when doing an IFR flight, managing your descent, when to start your descent, as well as the approach and giving you goals of where you want to be at specific points, and even the missed approach. For shutdown, we go through the startup or the cold and dark and the turnaround status. So again, if you guys are interested in a guide like this and interested in learning how to fly the A320, consider donating or subscribing to Patreon to acquire your guide. Now, before we really dive in deep, I want to remind everyone, this is an extremely alpha access helicopter, meaning that it is still very, very, very early access, meaning there's a lot of development left to be done, and we'll talk about some of that later on as we take a look at the roadmap that's included with some of the documentation. But please keep your expectations according. The developer has been very forthcoming and made it very, very clear this is an alpha early access product. All right. Now, the other thing to take into consideration, is my favorite part of it, is this is a freeware aircraft. It is freeware. And if I do say so myself, for being an alpha access aircraft, the textures are already better than quite a few of the payware aircraft that I can think of. People who are charging $30 and $40 for some of their aircraft, and their textures don't look this detailed. I mean, clearly a lot of work is going into it. And again, I will show you guys later in some documentation that there is further development for the textures yet to come. So I really don't have any complaints or concerns about the exterior. I love what I'm seeing so far, and I think at this point we'll just go ahead and jump into the business end of this helicopter. All right, stepping into the cockpit. Let's take a look around here. It looks like we have some performance charts down there. Oh, some more charts. It looks like, manifold pressure and speed charts up there, never exceed. As far as the interior textures, you can tell they need a lot of work. Hello. Apparently, well, look at that. I didn't even know that happened. Awesome. So we got fully functioning doors here, front and rear. As far as the textures go, again, there are some areas that are definitely missing a lot of detail. It's clear there's a lot of work to be done yet. And more or less what they're missing is depth, but you can see what's coming, guys. I think this is a fantastic start. Really happy to be a part of this. The center pedestal and gauge cluster, I think the gauge cluster looks phenomenal. Like I don't really feel like there is a ton of work that needs to go into that yet. I think it looks great, you know, all the way down into the pedestal. There's a couple switches here and switch covers that look like they need a little bit of refinement, maybe some TLC here. But I do love all the work that's come into it. The no smoking sign, down to the handle grips, even down to the leather boot down at the bottom of the cyclic. Really awesome. Again, really just, it's free, for crying out loud. It's H135 vibes all over again. I mean, this is beautiful work by the RotorSimPilot. By the way, before I forget, make sure you guys check the link in the description right now, please. And be sure to check out RotorSimPilot's YouTube channel. Give him a like and a subscribe for me, guys. That would really help him out. It really does make a difference for us content creators. So go ahead, check out his channel. He does quite a few development updates with this particular aircraft on his YouTube. So if you guys can see it as it comes out, that's the best way to do it. All right, so now that is done, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the documentation, and then we'll take a look at the startup procedures and things that we need to make sure are in place before we can start this helicopter. All right, so the next piece of the puzzle here is you're going to want to go to wherever you have the helicopter installed, whether it's in a mods directory if you're using something like addons linker, or maybe you have it dropped directly into your community folder. You want to go to that folder. Here's mine. And then we're going to go to manuals and documentation, and we're going to open this guy right here. And when you open this guy, you're going to get this one here. And this is just our quick start guide. Very simple information here. I really like the way it's laid out. Very quick, to the point. We have RotorSimPilot. There's his YouTube channel again, if any one of you guys missed that. Scrolling down, you have a briefing from him, letting him know where we're at with the aircraft. Remember, I was telling you guys, the aircraft is only currently about 5% complete of where they want it to be at the end. Scrolling down here, you have your installation instructions. They're very simple to follow. And then we're going to be talking about Airland FS. Now, real briefly, we'll discuss what this application is. This application must be running in order for you to get the full effects of this helicopter, in the aspect that it is what injects the flight model for this helicopter. That's right. The flight model is generated from a third-party software in which we can tweak it to our liking here. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Got to help in FAQ, and then here's that roadmap I was telling you guys about a minute ago. I really hope that the developer keeps this up to date and keeps that available to us as the public. I think these development roadmaps are just fantastic. It's a clear and concise way to find out where we're at with the aircraft, what to expect as we're coming forward, and really I think helps level out the expectation of what you're supposed to be getting at this particular time. So I'll let you guys just sort of cruise through that. But for example, we talked about the textures being improved. There they are right there. Okay, within 1 to 2 months. So we should see that rather quickly. All right, and then finally you have Robinson Raven II Fast Facts. Okay, just basically the specifications of the real world helicopter. Now, as cool as this information is, I also use this as sort of a basis to understand, well, where are they headed towards the end, right? I mean, obviously everything's going to be modeled in simulation based on real world aircraft. So really cool, love the documentation. Now let's go ahead and check out the Airland FS and get this helicopter started. All right, so the next step we're going to do is go back to that same installation folder, and we're going to find the Airland FS folder, and we're going to launch this executable. Now, this is going to be very high level right now, but we're just going to walk through the basics on how to get it started, and then we're going to check out a few things moving on down the road. So first off, we need to set the realism. Now, according to the documentation, it recommends your sensitivity for the pedals and for your cyclic at approximately 80%. I guess 79 is what it's going to be for us today. And it suggests realism at 20. Now, this is for beginners. What we're going to do today is we're going to set this at the recommended settings. We're going to go up, tool around for a minute. We're going to bring it back down, and then we're going to crank the realism and see if there's any real difference yet. Now, that was one thing that was sort of a little vague for me on the documentation. Let me go back and double check that real quick. And what I was referring to there is that I'm wondering if this is actually the limitations on your left air application. So it doesn't say here if this is the limitation of the software right now or if this is actually what it needs to be at. So we'll have to see what happens when we push realism forward. But for now, we have everything set. We're ready to roll. We can minimize that Airland FS. Once you set it, just minimize it, and let's start the aircraft. Alright, so we did have a bit of a crash. Unrelated to the helicopter, don't worry. It was actually a third-party application that was running. Anyway, let's go ahead and get her started and we'll get out of here. We're going to use the auto start because we don't actually have a start procedure. Ooh, so let's just see what these sounds are like. Not bad. Sounds kind of like a diesel engine, but I don't know what the thing sounds like in real life. Let's start adding some collective. Oh, and we are up. Okay. Alright. Whoa, girl. So really not bad at all. I mean, that was very quickly recovered. And remember, with helicopters, less is more. The less control input you put into it, probably the better you are. They don't really require as much as an airplane does, so be real gentle. Wow, man, yeah, she's a little crazy. So I don't think that I like the 80% cyclic sensitivity. I think I'm actually going to turn that down a little bit. And my reason being is the thing about sensitivities is a lot of people try to equate those into aspects of realism, and they're not. Sensitivity controls are going to be based on your hardware. That's the whole point, is that we're not sitting in a real R44. You know, we don't have that big old cyclic in front of us. I mean, look at this range of motion. It's huge. You know, I've got the Thrustmaster Warthog that I'm using, right? And mine has a 10 centimeter extension on it. And a perfect example of why we have to set the sensitivity to our hardware and more of a custom level. This is a really pretty area, by the way. Is because we don't have the range of motion that the real world controls do. So you have to adjust that sensitivity to your hardware. It doesn't make you any less of a pilot or any more less skilled. It's what your hardware is capable of. The Thrustmaster Warthog, for example, straight out of the box without any extension or anything like that, is actually really quite the pain in the backside in any of the control motions near neutral. So your finite, like we're doing here, very finite controls. It's like the cyclic inside the helicopter is moving way more than what I'm moving the flight stick on my rig here. So you have to adjust that sensitivity to compensate for that lack of motion, right? So don't be afraid to adjust that. Like, so far, what I can tell, based on what we saw previous, is I'd like to see what happens when we bring the realism up. See if that actually makes the aircraft more difficult to fly. I'm going to bring the cyclic sensitivity down, and what that allows me to do is gives me more range of motion in my physical flight stick, and then giving me a bit easier time creating that finite movement in the simulator. Because a lot of what you're seeing here is just I'm oversteering the aircraft, and it's just because, again, like the Thrustmaster Warthog is, because of how strong the spring is and the way the gimbal is designed, it's in the very finite motions, in those very, like I said, near neutral positions. It's real difficult to move around. That's actually why I got the 10 centimeter extension, was just to increase the leverage point, making it a bit easier to compress the spring. So let's go ahead and bring it back down. But so far, I love this thing. This thing is great. It's challenging. I can tell that right off the bat. Oh, there's a stall warning. Yeah, see, my controls are just all over the place. Everything's just so dramatic. I can't keep it where I want it. easy. Trying to watch that descent rate, top left of the gauge cluster over there. That's our vertical speed indicator. Trying to keep that at between 50 and 100 feet. Sort of looking for a nice, easy touchdown. Put it right back where we found it, kind of thing. Come on, come forward a bit. Come forward. No, 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 no. I said forward. Your other forward. Thank you. Come on. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Almost there. Almost there. There we go. Oh, there it is. Now that pillow ground effect. Boom. Half a feet per second, or half a foot per second, half a feet. Okay, let's check this out now. So I want to take my pedals and I'm going to crank them. I'm going to take the cyclic sensitivity and I'm going to bring it down to, let's try about 55, somewhere around there. And then we're going to crank the realism, see what happens. Alright guys, going back up. Definitely glad already about the cyclic sensitivity. Happy about the rudder sensitivity. As far as the realism change, I honestly can't tell. I don't think much has changed. And maybe that's why the documentation only references 20%. Again, I need to emphasize that the documentation blatantly says set it at 20%. It doesn't say for beginners. It doesn't say, you know, increase this as you go along. It says set it to 20%. So that could just be a limitation of where the aircraft currently is. And that's not a problem at all. But I really am enjoying this helicopter. Now just sort of take it around and go tour a bit. That'd be a fun little place, just kick back for a weekend or a month. Do some fishing. I can't wait for the sounds to be adjusted. They definitely need to be adjusted. Let's check this out from the external view. Forgive the bad flying, it's going to be a little weird. I've always found it really weird to fly a helicopter externally. Yeah, there really isn't any change. Doesn't seem to be any kind of dynamic variance. Uh-oh, we're going to lose it, we're going to lose it. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So, as I was saying about flying these helicopters externally, I don't like doing it. Oh, it's just not the same. I don't know why. I don't know why. But anyways, guys, this is absolutely a fantastic helicopter. RotorSimPilot, absolutely hats off to you. This thing is a credit to your skill set and your work. I absolutely love it. I can't believe this is a freeware helicopter. Right up there with the Airbus H135. You guys are just, you're remaking the sim. And the thing about so many of these freeware models like yours, RotorSimPilot, Airbus, and the H135, and many others for the freeware, big radials with the Goose, your freeware aircraft are better than so many of the payware, guys. You guys are just, you're making the sim great. Flybywire, working title, all of them. And just, it's absolutely wonderful. So anyway, guys, absolutely a 2 thumbs up from Overkill here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I certainly have enjoyed this aircraft. I look forward to flying it more. I'm going to be giving her a shot in VR. It's always fun to fly these kind of birds in VR. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the week. Don't forget, tomorrow's group flight night. That's right, we're going to be doing a group flight once again. And I will see you guys, as always, in the next one. Take care, folks.